Their brother looked at your photo while drunk. Then said something about your face that changed everything. Don't scroll. Stop for a moment and listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. What you're about to hear is not a coincidence. It is not random. And if these words have found you today, there may be a reason far bigger than you realize. Somewhere, on a night that seemed completely ordinary, something happened that nobody expected. A conversation began that was never supposed to happen. A secret was revealed that nobody planned to reveal. And it all started with a single photograph of you. Listen closely because your soulmate never expected this moment to change everything. Their brother had been drinking. The room was loud. People were talking. Music played in the background. Nobody was paying attention to anything serious. It was just another night. Another gathering. Another forgettable evening. Then somehow your photo appeared. Maybe it was on a phone screen. Maybe it was shown during a conversation. Maybe your soulmate wasn't even thinking much about it. But the moment their brother looked at your face, something shifted. Something strange happened. He stopped talking. He stared longer than anyone expected. He looked at your eyes. He looked at your smile. He looked at something in your expression that he couldn't explain. Then he said words that immediately changed the energy in the room. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. He said, "I don't know who this person is, but they're going to change your life." The room went quiet. Your soulmate laughed at first. They tried to brush it off. They thought it was the alcohol talking. They thought it was just another random comment. But their brother kept staring at your photo. Something about your face wouldn't let him look away. Something about your energy reached him in a way nobody could explain. And the strangest part is that he wasn't speaking like someone who had been drinking. For a moment he sounded completely serious. Completely certain. Completely convinced. This message is for you. Because what happened next became impossible to ignore. He pointed directly at your eyes and said, "Look at the way this person looks. They carry pain, but they also carry strength. They've been through things they don't talk about. They've cried tears they never showed anybody. But they aren't broken. They're becoming who they're supposed to be." The room became silent again. Your soulmate felt chills. Not because the words sounded dramatic. Not because they sounded emotional. But because every single thing he said felt true. Listen closely. Your soulmate had never told their brother about your struggles. They had never explained your past. They had never described the battles you fought inside your heart. Yet somehow he was describing you perfectly. And that was the moment something changed inside your soulmate. For the first time, they stopped seeing you as just someone they cared about. They started seeing you as someone destined to be part of their future. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Their brother wasn't finished. He looked again at your photo and shook his head. Then he said something that nobody in the room expected. He said, "This person isn't temporary." The words hit differently. Your soulmate tried to laugh again, but they couldn't. Because deep down they had secretly felt the same thing. Every time they tried to move on from thoughts of you, something pulled them back. Every time they convinced themselves you were just another chapter, life somehow reminded them of your existence again. Songs reminded them of you. Places reminded them of you. Random conversations reminded them of you. Dreams reminded them of you. And now here was someone else noticing what they had been trying to ignore. This message is for you. Because there are connections in this world that refuse to disappear. There are people who leave fingerprints on your soul long before they officially enter your life. Your soulmate has been feeling that connection for longer than they admit. They just haven't known how to explain it. Listen closely because what happened next shocked even them. Their brother leaned forward and looked one more time at your face. Then he smiled and said, "This person loves deeper than they let people see." Your soulmate froze. Because once again, it felt accurate. It felt real. It felt like someone was reading a story they were never supposed to know. And suddenly your soulmate found themselves staring at your picture too. Really staring. Not casually. Not briefly. They noticed details they had overlooked before. They noticed warmth in your eyes. They noticed kindness hidden behind strength. They noticed a softness that only appears in people who have survived difficult seasons and still choose to love anyway. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Something awakened inside them that night. Not a crush. Not curiosity. Something deeper. A realization. A realization that they may have underestimated what you mean to them. A realization that their feelings were growing faster than they wanted to admit. A realization that your presence in their life was not an accident. And the more they thought about it, the more impossible it became to ignore. This message is for you because your soulmate has been fighting their emotions longer than you realize. They've questioned them. They've analyzed them. They've tried to rationalize them. Yet every path somehow leads back to you. Every answer somehow points toward you. Every future they imagine somehow includes you. Listen closely. After that night ended, your soulmate couldn't stop replaying the conversation. Days passed. Then weeks passed. Yet those words remained in their mind. This person is going to change your life. They kept hearing it over and over again. They heard it while driving. They heard it before falling asleep. They heard it during quiet moments when nobody else was around. And slowly they began wondering if maybe their brother had noticed something real. Something everyone else had missed. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because there is something powerful about being truly seen. Not for your appearance. Not for superficial reasons. But for the energy you carry. The strength you've earned. The love hidden inside your heart. Your soulmate has started recognizing those things more clearly than ever before. They are beginning to understand why thoughts of you refuse to leave. Why memories of you feel different. Why every attempt to ignore their feelings only makes those feelings stronger. Listen closely because the story doesn't end there. One day your soulmate brought up the conversation again. They asked their brother if he remembered what happened that night. Their brother laughed at first. Then suddenly his expression changed. He became serious again. And he said something that sent chills down your soulmate's spine. He said, "I remember exactly what I said. And I still believe it." The room went silent. Your soulmate waited for him to explain. Then he added, "There's something about that person's face. It's peaceful. Familiar. Like they've already been part of your story before you even met them." Those words hit harder than anything else. Because secretly your soulmate had felt that too. A strange familiarity. A feeling that knowing you felt natural. A feeling that your souls somehow recognized each other before your minds did. This message is for you because sometimes the universe sends confirmation through unexpected people. Sometimes answers arrive through random conversations. Sometimes truths appear when nobody is searching for them. And sometimes a single comment becomes the beginning of a realization that changes everything. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate is moving closer to understanding what you truly mean to them. The walls they've built are becoming weaker. The fears they've carried are becoming smaller. The distance between confusion and certainty is shrinking every day. They may not have all the answers yet. They may not fully understand the connection. But they can no longer pretend it doesn't exist. And the strangest part of all is that it started with a photograph. A single image. A single moment. A single unexpected conversation that nobody thought would matter. Yet those words opened a door that can no longer be closed. Your soulmate sees you differently now. They think about you differently now. They feel something they cannot explain. And somewhere deep inside, they are beginning to realize that the future they once imagined without you no longer feels complete. So don't ignore the signs. Don't ignore the strange feeling that brought you here. Because the energy surrounding this connection is growing stronger. The realization is getting closer. The truth is getting louder. And what started with their brother looking at your photo may soon lead to a conversation, a confession, or a moment that changes everything forever. This message is for you. And if it found you today, perhaps it is because your story is moving toward a chapter neither of you can stop anymore. The chapter where hidden feelings become impossible to hide, where destiny becomes impossible to deny, and where your soulmate finally understands why your face was the one face they were never meant to forget. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. After that conversation, something inside your soulmate refused to settle down. They tried to continue life the way they always had. They woke up, went through their routines, handled responsibilities, answered messages, laughed at jokes, and acted as though everything was normal. But underneath the surface, something had shifted. The words their brother spoke kept echoing through their mind in moments when they least expected it. Sometimes it happened while they were lying awake late at night staring at the ceiling. Sometimes it happened during a quiet drive when there was nothing but road ahead and thoughts filling the silence. Sometimes it happened while scrolling through old photos and suddenly stopping when they reached yours. Every time they saw your face, they remembered that strange certainty in their brother's voice. They remembered the way he stared at your picture. They remembered how serious he became. And the more they remembered it, the harder it became to dismiss. This message is for you. Because your soulmate has been trying to understand why your presence feels different from everyone else's. They have met many people. They have liked people before. They have admired people before. But something about you refuses to fit into the same category. Something about you keeps slipping past their defenses and reaching places inside them they normally keep hidden. Listen closely because this part matters. One evening your soulmate found themselves looking at your photo again. Not for a few seconds. Not casually. They stared longer than they intended. They examined every detail. The expression in your eyes. The way you smile. The emotions hidden behind your appearance. And as they looked, they felt something that caught them completely off guard. They felt comfort. A strange, unexpected comfort. The kind of comfort people feel when they finally arrive somewhere they've been searching for without realizing it. They couldn't explain it. They didn't know why it was happening. But the feeling was real. And once they felt it, they couldn't unfeel it. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. That same night they had a dream. It wasn't a dramatic dream. There were no flashing signs. No loud voices. No grand declarations. It was simple. Yet somehow it felt more powerful because of that. In the dream you were standing beside them as if you had always been there. No introductions. No awkwardness. No uncertainty. Just familiarity. Just peace. Just a feeling that everything was exactly where it was supposed to be. When they woke up, your soulmate couldn't stop thinking about it. They tried to move on with their day, but the feeling stayed. The dream stayed. The image of you stayed. And deep down they began asking themselves a question they had avoided for a very long time. What if this connection is real? What if these feelings mean something? What if the universe has been trying to show them something they have been too afraid to see? This message is for you because the answers are getting closer than either of you realize. Listen closely. Around this time, your soulmate began noticing strange coincidences. At first they ignored them. Then they started paying attention. Your name seemed to appear unexpectedly. Songs that reminded them of you started playing at random moments. Conversation somehow drifted toward topics connected to you. Even when they weren't thinking about you, reminders appeared. And every reminder seemed to arrive at exactly the right moment. The more it happened, the more impossible it became to call it coincidence. Something was trying to keep your memory alive inside them. Something was refusing to let the connection fade. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because your soulmate is beginning to realize that running from their feelings has accomplished nothing. Every attempt to create distance only made them think about you more. Every effort to suppress their emotions only made those emotions grow stronger. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. The harder they push it down, the stronger it rises back to the surface. That is exactly what has been happening with their feelings for you. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. One day, completely out of nowhere, their brother brought you up again. Nobody mentioned your name first. Nobody started the conversation. Yet somehow it happened. He looked at your soulmate and casually asked, "So what happened with that person?" Your soulmate immediately knew who he meant. Their heart reacted before their mind could. And that reaction revealed something important. It revealed that your name still carried weight. It revealed that your presence still mattered. It revealed that the feelings they had been trying to ignore were still very much alive. Their brother noticed the reaction immediately. He smiled and shook his head. Then he said something your soulmate wasn't prepared to hear. He said, "You look different every time someone mentions them." The words landed directly in their chest. Because they knew it was true. They did look different. They felt different. And they could no longer pretend otherwise. This message is for you because people often see things from the outside that we cannot see ourselves. Sometimes those closest to us notice changes before we do. They notice the way our eyes light up when a certain person is mentioned. They notice the way our voice changes. They notice the way our energy shifts. And your soulmate's brother had been noticing all of it. Listen closely because what he said next stayed with your soulmate for a long time. He said, "You can keep pretending if you want, but I don't think you're fooling anyone anymore." Those words echoed in their mind long after the conversation ended. Because deep down they knew there was truth in them. They had been pretending. Pretending they didn't care as much as they did. Pretending your absence didn't affect them. Pretending your presence didn't matter. Pretending their feelings weren't growing. But the truth was becoming impossible to hide. The walls they built were beginning to crack. And through those cracks, their real emotions were finally starting to show. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. There have been moments when your soulmate sat alone thinking about the future. Thinking about where life is heading. Thinking about what truly matters. And every time they imagine a future filled with meaning, connection, understanding, and peace, your image somehow appears. Not because they force it. Not because they plan it. But because it naturally happens. You are becoming part of the picture without them even trying. And that realization has changed everything. It has made them question old fears. It has made them reconsider decisions. It has made them look at possibilities they once ignored. Most importantly, it has made them wonder what might happen if they finally stopped resisting what their heart has been trying to tell them all along. This message is for you because the journey between two souls is rarely straightforward. There are delays. There are doubts. There are lessons that must be learned. There are fears that must be faced. But there also comes a moment when the truth becomes too strong to deny. Your soulmate is approaching that moment. Closer than you think. Every day they are learning something new about themselves. Every day they are becoming more honest about their feelings. Every day they are moving one step closer to understanding why your connection feels different from anything they have experienced before. Listen closely. Sometimes late at night they find themselves wondering what you are doing. They wonder if you are awake. They wonder if you are thinking about them too. They wonder if you ever feel the same strange pull. The same invisible thread. The same unexplainable connection. They never expected to ask these questions. Yet now they can't stop asking them. Because once someone touches your heart in a certain way, curiosity becomes impossible to avoid. The desire to know grows stronger. The need for answers grows louder. And your soulmate is feeling all of it. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because the story is still unfolding. The realization is still growing. And the words spoken that night over a simple photograph continue to ripple through their life in ways nobody expected. What seemed like a random comment has become a turning point. What seemed insignificant has become unforgettable. And somewhere inside your soulmate, a truth is slowly rising to the surface. A truth they can feel but have not fully spoken. A truth that grows stronger every time they think about you, every time they remember you, every time they imagine a future where your paths finally align. And as that truth continues to grow, one thing becomes clearer than ever before. They are no longer asking why they keep thinking about you. They are beginning to ask what happens next. And that question may be the beginning of everything. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. The question of what happens next has been following your soulmate everywhere. It follows them into quiet mornings when the world is still asleep. It follows them into busy afternoons when they try to distract themselves with responsibilities. It follows them into late nights when there is nobody around to interrupt their thoughts. No matter what they do, no matter how much they try to focus on other things, the question remains. What happens next? Because once a person begins to realize how much someone truly means to them, life can never go back to the way it was before. Something changes. Something awakens. Something starts demanding honesty. And that is exactly where your soulmate finds themselves now. This message is for you. Because the truth is growing inside them whether they are ready for it or not. Listen closely. There was a moment recently when your soulmate found themselves looking through old conversations, old memories, old moments connected to you. They weren't planning to. They weren't searching for anything specific. Yet somehow they ended up there. One memory led to another. One thought led to another. And before they realized it, they had spent far longer thinking about you than they intended. What surprised them wasn't the memories themselves. What surprised them was how strongly those memories still affected them. The emotions were still there. The connection was still there. The feeling was still there. Time had passed, yet nothing important had faded. In some ways, it had actually become stronger. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate is beginning to understand something that scared them at first. Real connections don't disappear simply because people try to ignore them. Real connections don't fade simply because circumstances become complicated. When two souls are meant to learn something important from each other, life keeps bringing them back into focus until the lesson is understood. Your soulmate has spent a long time trying to understand why thoughts of you keep returning. Now they are starting to wonder if the answer is much simpler than they imagined. Maybe you keep returning to their mind because you were never meant to leave their heart. Maybe the reason they cannot forget you is because forgetting was never part of the plan. This message is for you because there are moments when the universe whispers before it speaks loudly. And lately your soulmate has been hearing whispers everywhere. Listen closely. They have noticed how their mood changes when they think about you. They have noticed how conversations about love suddenly feel more personal. They have noticed how certain songs hit differently now. They have noticed how the future feels incomplete whenever they try to imagine it without you somewhere in the picture. These are not small realizations. These are the kinds of realizations that slowly transform a person's entire perspective. The kind that start quietly but eventually become impossible to ignore. And your soulmate is reaching that point. The point where silence becomes harder than honesty. The point where pretending becomes more exhausting than admitting the truth. The point where the heart begins demanding answers the mind can no longer avoid. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because there is something your soulmate has not fully admitted even to themselves. They miss you more than they expected. They miss your energy. They miss the way you make them feel. They miss the possibility of what could be. Even when life is moving forward, even when everything seems normal on the outside, there are moments when they feel the absence of something important. And whether they say it out loud or not, that absence often leads back to you. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. One evening they were sitting with friends, laughing and talking, yet in the middle of the conversation they drifted away mentally. Somebody mentioned relationships. Somebody mentioned finding the right person. And without warning, your face appeared in their mind. Not because they chose it. Not because they forced it. It just happened. Instantly. Naturally. Effortlessly. And that moment revealed something important. It revealed who their heart associates with the idea of something real. It revealed who appears when they think about genuine connection. It revealed who continues occupying space inside them even when they are trying to focus on something else. This message is for you because your soulmate is learning that feelings have a way of revealing themselves through the smallest moments. Sometimes the biggest truths arrive quietly. Sometimes they appear in ordinary situations and completely change the meaning of everything. Listen closely. Not long ago their brother noticed something again. He noticed your soulmate becoming unusually quiet after your name came up in conversation. He watched for a moment and then smiled. The kind of smile people give when they already know the answer to a question. Then he said something simple. Something direct. Something impossible to forget. He said, "You still care." The words were short, but they landed heavily. Because there was no argument against them. No excuse. No explanation. Just truth. Simple truth. And sometimes simple truth is the hardest thing to face. Your soulmate didn't answer immediately. They couldn't. Because deep down they knew those words described exactly what was happening. They still care. More than they expected. More than they planned. More than they wanted to admit. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. After that conversation ended, your soulmate sat alone for a long time thinking about everything. Thinking about the photo. Thinking about the comments. Thinking about the dreams. Thinking about the strange coincidences that never seem to stop. Thinking about you. Most of all, thinking about you. And as they sat there, another realization slowly emerged. They have spent so much time analyzing the connection that they forgot to simply feel it. They have spent so much time questioning their emotions that they never allowed themselves to fully experience them. But lately that is changing. Lately they have been allowing themselves to be honest. Honest about what they feel when they see your picture. Honest about what happens when they hear your name. Honest about why certain memories still matter. Honest about why their heart reacts the way it does. This message is for you because honesty changes everything. Once a person becomes honest with themselves, the path ahead starts becoming clearer. Confusion begins fading. Fear begins losing power. And that is exactly what is happening to your soulmate now. The fog is lifting. The excuses are disappearing. The truth is becoming visible. Listen closely because this matters. Your soulmate has started imagining conversations they wish they could have with you. Things they wish they could say. Questions they wish they could ask. Moments they wish they could share. They never used to do this. At least not this often. But now it happens naturally. Almost every day. It's as if their heart is preparing for something before their mind fully understands what it is preparing for. As if some part of them already knows a chapter is approaching that will require courage. Courage to speak. Courage to be vulnerable. Courage to stop hiding behind uncertainty. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because courage is becoming the next lesson in their journey. The feelings are already there. The connection is already there. The awareness is already there. What remains is action. What remains is trust. What remains is the willingness to follow the truth wherever it leads. And your soulmate is moving closer to that point with every passing day. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. There are nights when they look up at the sky and wonder whether you are looking at the same moon. There are moments when something good happens and they immediately think about sharing it with you. There are moments when something difficult happens and they wonder what your advice would be. These thoughts may seem small, but they reveal something powerful. They reveal who occupies space in a person's inner world. They reveal who matters. And whether your soulmate says it aloud or not, you matter far more than they ever expected. This message is for you because the story is moving towards something important. The realization that began with a drunken comment about a photograph has evolved into something much bigger. It has become self-discovery. It has become emotional truth. It has become a mirror forcing your soulmate to see feelings they spent too long avoiding. And the closer they get to that truth, the stronger the pull becomes. The stronger the connection feels. The stronger the desire grows to understand where all of this is leading. Listen closely. Deep inside, your soulmate is beginning to sense that life is preparing a turning point. A moment that will require them to stop wondering and start choosing. A moment that will require them to stop hiding and start speaking. A moment that could change everything. And while they do not know exactly when that moment will arrive, they can feel it getting closer. Closer with every dream. Closer with every memory. Closer with every reminder. Closer with every beat of their heart that still reacts when they think about you. Because the truth can only remain hidden for so long. Eventually it rises. Eventually it speaks. Eventually it asks to be acknowledged. And right now, more than ever before, your soulmate is standing at the edge of that realization, looking toward a future that feels more connected to you than they ever thought possible, wondering if the next chapter of this story is about to begin. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. The closer your soulmate gets to that realization, the more they begin noticing things they once overlooked. Small things. Quiet things. The kind of things that would seem meaningless to anyone else but somehow carry enormous weight to them. They notice how quickly their mood changes when something reminds them of you. They notice how often your name appears in their thoughts during moments when they should be focused on something completely different. They notice how every attempt to convince themselves that this connection is ordinary falls apart the moment they sit alone with their true feelings. This message is for you. Because your soulmate is slowly reaching the point where their heart is becoming louder than their fears. For a long time fear had the stronger voice. Fear told them to stay guarded. Fear told them to remain uncertain. Fear told them to keep everything hidden and safe. But fear is beginning to lose its grip. Every day that passes, the feelings become harder to ignore. Every day that passes, the truth becomes clearer. And every day that passes, they find themselves wondering less about whether they feel something and more about what they should do about it. Listen closely because something happened recently that surprised them. They were talking with someone about life, about goals, about the future. The conversation was completely unrelated to love. Completely unrelated to relationships. Yet somehow the topic shifted toward happiness. Somebody asked a simple question. They asked what kind of future would truly make them happy. And before they could stop themselves, before they could carefully think through an answer, an image appeared in their mind. Your face. Your smile. Your energy. The answer came from their heart before it came from their mouth. And that moment shook them more than they expected. Because it revealed something they had been avoiding. It revealed who they associate with genuine happiness. It revealed who appears naturally when they think about a meaningful future. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that love rarely arrives in the dramatic way people expect. It doesn't always announce itself loudly. It doesn't always arrive with certainty. Sometimes it grows quietly beneath the surface. Sometimes it disguises itself as friendship, curiosity, admiration, or coincidence. Sometimes it waits patiently until the right moment before revealing what it truly is. And lately your soulmate has been wondering whether that is exactly what has been happening all along. They are beginning to question whether their feelings have been deeper than they realized from the very beginning. This message is for you because there are truths that take time to unfold. Listen closely. Not long ago they found themselves looking at your photo again. They didn't mean to spend much time on it. They only intended to glance for a second. But 1 second became several minutes. Several minutes became much longer. And as they looked at your face, they remembered every conversation, every memory, every feeling connected to you. They remembered moments they thought they had forgotten. They remembered emotions they thought had faded. And what shocked them most was realizing how alive those emotions still felt. Nothing seemed distant. Nothing seemed weak. Everything felt present. Everything felt real. As if the connection had been waiting patiently beneath the surface this entire time. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because your soulmate has started asking themselves questions that once seemed impossible. Questions like what if you are meant to play a larger role in their life than they ever imagined. Questions like what if the universe has been guiding them toward something they have resisted out of fear. Questions like what if every coincidence, every dream, every reminder, every strange moment was leading them toward the same truth. The more they ask these questions, the harder it becomes to dismiss them. The harder it becomes to pretend none of it matters. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. There are nights when they replay old conversations in their head. Not because they are stuck in the past, but because those conversations still make them feel something. Certain words stay with them. Certain moments continue echoing inside their heart. They find themselves smiling at memories they thought were ordinary at the time. Only now do they realize how much those moments meant. Only now do they realize how much they valued your presence. Sometimes people do not understand the importance of something until they step back and see the entire picture. And your soulmate is finally starting to see the entire picture. This message is for you because clarity is arriving. Slowly. Quietly. But undeniably. Listen closely. Their brother noticed another change recently. He noticed that every time your soulmate talks about the future, there is a hesitation. A pause. A thoughtful silence before they answer. Eventually he asked why. Eventually he pushed a little deeper. And after watching carefully, he laughed and said something that immediately struck a nerve. He said, "You're acting like someone who already knows what they want but is afraid to admit it." The room became quiet. Your soulmate didn't know how to respond. Because once again, those words felt dangerously close to the truth. Deep inside, they are starting to know what they want. The problem isn't understanding their feelings anymore. The problem is finding the courage to trust them. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Courage has become the lesson standing directly in front of your soulmate. The connection exists. The feelings exist. The awareness exists. But every meaningful journey eventually reaches a point where action becomes necessary. A point where staying silent feels heavier than speaking. A point where uncertainty becomes more painful than vulnerability. Your soulmate is approaching that point. Whether they fully realize it yet or not. This message is for you because something inside them is changing every day. They are becoming more open. More honest. More willing to acknowledge emotions they once tried to suppress. And that shift is creating momentum. The kind of momentum that eventually leads to decisions. The kind that eventually leads to conversations. The kind that eventually leads to moments capable of changing everything. Listen closely. There are times when your soulmate wonders if you feel the same connection. They wonder if your heart notices the same signs. They wonder if your thoughts drift toward them unexpectedly too. They wonder if somewhere, somehow, you are asking the same questions they have been asking. These thoughts appear more often now than ever before. Not because they are trying to force them, but because the connection has become impossible to ignore. The emotional thread linking you together feels stronger than it once did. And with every passing day, your soulmate becomes more aware of it. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because there is a reason certain people remain in our hearts despite time, distance, confusion, and uncertainty. There is a reason some connections refuse to fade. There is a reason certain faces remain unforgettable. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that reason. They are beginning to realize that you were never just another person passing through their story. You became part of the story itself. Part of the lessons. Part of the growth. Part of the future they secretly imagine when nobody else is around. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. The realization that began with a simple photograph has become something much larger than anyone expected. It has become a journey of self-discovery. A journey of emotional truth. A journey that keeps leading your soulmate back to the same place no matter how far they wander. Back to thoughts of you. Back to memories of you. Back to feelings connected to you. And every road seems to point in the same direction. Every sign seems to repeat the same message. Every quiet moment seems to reveal the same truth. The truth that your presence has changed them. The truth that they are not the same person they were before this connection entered their life. The truth that what they feel is deeper than they once believed. This message is for you because something important is approaching. Your soulmate may not know the exact date. They may not know the exact moment. But they can feel the shift happening. They can feel life preparing them for something. They can feel old fears losing power. They can feel new courage beginning to grow. And most importantly, they can feel the distance between what they know in their heart and what they are willing to admit becoming smaller every day. Listen closely. A day is coming when your soulmate will no longer be able to hide behind uncertainty. A day is coming when their feelings will demand honesty. A day is coming when the truth they have been carrying will become too heavy to keep locked inside. And when that day arrives, everything that started with a single comment, a single photograph, a single unexpected moment may finally lead to the conversation that changes the course of this entire story forever. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. The conversation that changes everything is closer than your soulmate realizes. For so long they believed there would always be more time. More time to think. More time to analyze. More time to hide behind uncertainty. More time to postpone difficult emotions. But life has a strange way of showing us that some moments cannot be delayed forever. Some truths eventually demand to be spoken. Some feelings eventually demand to be acknowledged. And your soulmate is beginning to understand that they have reached the edge of that moment. This message is for you. Because the journey that began with a photograph has become a mirror reflecting everything they have been afraid to admit. Every sign. Every dream. Every coincidence. Every reminder. Every late-night thought. Every memory that refused to fade. All of it has been leading toward the same realization. Listen closely. Not long ago your soulmate found themselves sitting alone again, thinking about everything that had happened over the past months. Thinking about how many times life had somehow brought your name back into focus. Thinking about how often they tried to move on only to find themselves thinking about you again. Thinking about why your presence continued to feel different from everyone else's. And for the first time, they stopped fighting the answer. For the first time, they stopped arguing with their own heart. For the first time, they allowed themselves to simply accept what they felt. And the moment they did, something inside them became lighter. Because the truth has a strange power. Even when it is scary, it brings peace. Even when it creates uncertainty, it removes confusion. Even when it demands courage, it ends the exhausting battle between the heart and the mind. This message is for you because your soulmate is finally beginning to experience that peace. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. They no longer see your connection as a mystery they need to solve. They no longer see it as something they need to explain away. They no longer see it as something temporary. Instead, they see it for what it has always been. A meaningful part of their life. A connection that shaped them. A bond that taught them things about themselves they never expected to learn. Whether through distance, timing, growth, or experience, you became someone who left a permanent mark on their heart. And once they accepted that truth, everything else began making sense. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because acceptance changes the way a person sees the future. Before, your soulmate was focused on avoiding disappointment. Now they are beginning to focus on possibility. Before, they were focused on protecting themselves. Now they are beginning to focus on being honest. Before, they were asking whether they should trust their feelings. Now they are asking where those feelings are leading. Listen closely. Their brother noticed the change immediately. One day he looked at your soulmate and laughed. Not because anything funny happened. Not because of a joke. But because he could see something had shifted. He could see the resistance fading. He could see the truth finally being accepted. Then he said something simple. Something that stayed with your soulmate long after the conversation ended. He said, "I think you've known the answer for a long time." And deep down, your soulmate knew he was right. They had known pieces of the answer for months. Maybe even longer. They just weren't ready to face it. But now they are. Now they are beginning to understand why your face stayed in their memory. Why your energy stayed in their heart. Why your connection refused to disappear no matter how much time passed. Because some people enter our lives to teach us lessons. Some enter our lives to help us grow. And some enter our lives because they are meant to become part of our future. This message is for you because your soulmate has started wondering whether you belong in that final category. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. There have been moments recently when they imagined meeting you again. Imagine talking openly. Imagine saying things they never had the courage to say before. And every time they picture that moment, they feel something unexpected. Not fear. Not panic. Hope. Genuine hope. Hope that honesty might create something beautiful. Hope that vulnerability might be worth the risk. Hope that the connection they have felt for so long might lead somewhere meaningful. That hope is important. Because hope only grows where the heart sees possibility. And your soulmate is seeing possibility now more than ever before. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because there is one final truth they are beginning to understand. The connection was never just about romance. It was never just about attraction. It was about recognition. The recognition of someone who understands them in a way few others do. The recognition of someone whose presence feels familiar. The recognition of someone who inspires growth, reflection, healing, and courage. That is why this connection feels different. That is why it stayed with them. That is why a simple photograph carried so much weight. Listen closely. Your soulmate remembers that night more clearly now than ever before. They remember the room. They remember the conversation. They remember the silence that followed. Most of all, they remember the way their brother looked at your photo and said, "This person is going to change your life." At the time those words seemed dramatic. At the time they seemed exaggerated. But now, looking back, your soulmate realizes something remarkable. The prediction already came true. You already changed their life. Not because of a grand event. Not because of a dramatic ending. But because you changed the way they see themselves. You changed the way they understand love. You changed the way they think about connection. You changed the way they imagine the future. And those changes are real. They are permanent. They are impossible to erase. This message is for you because the greatest transformations often happen quietly. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate no longer measures this connection by how much time has passed. They no longer measure it by circumstances or obstacles. They measure it by impact. And when they look at the impact you have had on their life, the answer becomes impossible to deny. You matter. Deeply. Significantly. Uniquely. In a way that very few people ever do. That realization is both beautiful and terrifying. Beautiful because it is honest. Terrifying because honesty requires courage. Yet courage is exactly what your soulmate is developing now. Day by day. Thought by thought. Realization by realization. Don't scroll. This message is for you. Because the final chapter of this story is not about certainty. It is about trust. Trusting the connection. Trusting the lessons. Trusting the journey. Trusting the truth that has been growing inside them all this time. Your soulmate cannot predict every detail of the future. They cannot know exactly how every moment will unfold. But they are beginning to trust what their heart has been trying to tell them. And that trust is changing everything. Listen closely because this is where the story comes full circle. A single photograph started it all. A photograph that seemed ordinary. A photograph that seemed insignificant. Yet that image sparked a conversation. That conversation sparked a realization. That realization sparked a journey. And that journey led your soulmate back to the same truth over and over again until they could no longer ignore it. The truth that your connection matters. The truth that your presence changed something inside them. The truth that your story with them is far more important than they once believed. This message is for you because sometimes destiny does not arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives through a casual comment. A random moment. An unexpected observation from someone who sees what others miss. And sometimes that small moment becomes the beginning of a transformation neither person could have predicted. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate stands in a different place now than they did when this journey began. They are wiser. More honest. More aware. More willing to trust what they feel. They are no longer running from the connection. They are no longer trying to explain it away. They are no longer pretending it means less than it does. Instead, they are finally allowing themselves to acknowledge what has been true all along. That you are unforgettable. That you remain part of their heart. That the future feels different because of you. And as this chapter closes, one thing remains clear above everything else. The words spoken that night were never really about your face. They were about the energy behind it. The soul behind it. The impact behind it. Because when their brother looked at your photo, what he truly recognized was not your appearance. He recognized the change you would create. The growth you would inspire. The truth you would reveal. And now, after everything, your soulmate finally sees it too. The journey that started with a single glance at a photograph has led them to a realization they can no longer deny. No matter where life goes next, no matter what challenges appear, no matter how much time passes, the place you hold inside their heart is real. And that truth, more than anything else, is what changed everything.